Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, February 19th, episode 125. Let's get into our tip-off topics, which this is going to be mostly an NBA-focused show. So we're going to have to kind of switch this around a little bit because we got to give college picks. We're going to kind of take our tip-off topics and kind of do an award tour at one point. But let's start with the main topic, which is the All-Star Game, which was, depending on what you thought, maybe a success, maybe you didn't. But obviously, Steph Curry gets the MVP award in the All-Star Game, leading Team Shaq's OGs in the mini tournament. Steph led the way with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 made three-pointers as Shaq's team got the win, I do believe, over Charles Barkley's team, if I'm not mistaken. When you take a look at the All-Star Game, you have to give Adam Silver credit for trying to spice it up, right? Try and make something better out of a situation that I really think, folks, has become impossible. You look at all the other sports, it hasn't been good. And the NBA's got, like I talked about in Pharrell's show, I think an image and a ratings problem. So you give them credit for trying to do this mini tournament. Here are the problems that you have. Number one, what LeBron did, I just don't agree with. For him to pull out of the game 30 minutes beforehand, you saw him dap everybody up walking in the locker room. You know, that should have been a conversation that LeBron should have had with Adam Silver about his foot and his ankle. Obviously, the swelling of even getting up there to Golden State. And having someone like Norman Powell or Domantas Sabonis, someone deserving, not saying LeBron wasn't, but deserving of a spot. Then there's the whole game, the whole weekend. Folks, maybe I'm old school, but it's almost like we need to rethink about what we're doing in All-Star Weekend. The Four Nations Cup tournament, whatever you want to call it, in the NHL, by Gary Bettman was absolutely fantastic. Could we do it in the NBA? No, I don't think we can do it every year. But changing around the format a little bit could help. Having USA versus the world, or Team USA versus Team Canada versus 2 rest of the world teams, could be something that could spark interest, especially if you do it in non-Olympic or FIBA World Cup seasons. Something to think about. Other thing to think about, how do we get more guys in the dunk contest? My personal opinion, keep Mac McClung. Mac McClung, if people don't know, has been popular since high school. Why? YouTube. So why don't we get some of the best YouTube dunkers, have some kind of vote, and have those guys in the dunk contest? Unless you can get superstars, Giannis, Ant, Ja, to be into the dunk contest, in which now you have to put more money on their check. Other thing, NBA is such a great one-on-one league. One-on-one contest. Get the ball, 4 seconds to get off a shot. I want to see who the best one-on-one player in the league is. Personally, I think one-on-one, it's probably Kyrie. You know, Ant's got something to say about it. Giannis is going to have something to say about it. Tyrese Maxey's a phenomenal one-on-one player. He's going to have something to say about it. Just another idea of how we can make this All-Star Game better. Let's get into our award tour portion, where the championship odds on the 2nd of February had the Celtics at plus 210, Oklahoma City plus 230, 8.5 to 1 for Cleveland, 13 to 1 for the Knicks, 14 to 1 for Denver, 21 to 1 for the Lakers, 25 to 1 for Memphis, 26-1 for Milwaukee. Let's look at the change. Now you have Boston at plus 175, Oklahoma City 2-1, Cleveland 9-1, 13-1 for Denver, 14-1 for the Knicks. There's the movement for the Lakers at 18-1. Memphis 33-1 along with Milwaukee. Houston 65-1, ultimate sleeper. And it will tie into what we say with Boston. Right now, folks, Boston is the defending champion. Boston has done it. You're worried about Oklahoma City and their youth. You look at Cleveland, I don't think they're coming out of the East. I don't think, and they're lucky they're going to get the 1 seed, because I think if they play 2-3 against the Knicks, I think the Knicks can beat them in a 7-game series. And I'm worried about some of the other teams. So right now it's Boston at plus 175 because they have the pedigree, they have the coaching, and they have the firepower to win it. Speaking of which, let's look at 3 teams over-under win totals. First with Boston at 59.5. They have 39 wins. They have to go 21-6 the rest of the way. Why is that a hit? And they will do so because they have the 3rd easiest schedule in the East. And I think Joe Mazzulla is going to look for these last 27 games as a way to get these guys dialed in. I wonder if they shoot the ball a little bit less from 3 and start to kind of turn themselves up as they try to defend their NBA championship. Next team, Houston. Win total 49.5. They have 34 wins. They have to go 16-11 the rest of the way. They haven't been playing well. I think they're 3-7 their last 10 games. But they have the 10th easiest schedule the rest of the way. I think Ime Udoka, kind of like the way they played towards the end of the year last year before Şengün got hurt at the very end, I think that they're going to find a way to turn it on and kind of fix themselves and kind of want to keep themselves in that top 4 seed. Right now they're 4th. Lakers are in 5th, because I honestly believe in my heart, they need to be a 4 seed, because I think they need to have home court advantage for a chance to get out of the first round. Lastly, Minnesota. Minnesota's sitting right now with 31 wins. They have to go 15-11 the rest of the way. You're like, no problem. Folks, there's a problem. Think about this. First 5 games out of the All-Star break at Houston, Oklahoma City, at Oklahoma City, back-to-back. And then they have to go on the road for 2 games. I think it's Lakers and Utah back-to-back. 5 games in 9 days. Plus, there's another stretch where you go back-to-back, 16th, 17th. Utah may be easy, but then they got to play Indiana on the second leg of a back-to-back. At home, Indiana will try and run them. Too inconsistent. I love, obviously you pull that guy up, Naz Reid, the pride of Asbury Park, right in my neighborhood. As much as I love Minnesota, something's been amiss all year. They will go under 45.5 wins. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report. But what we're going to do is the scouting report, first one, will be all NBA based. Games that are tipping off Thursday, Friday. We obviously have the Magic at the Hawks. We have the Clippers at the Bucks. We have the Knicks Friday night at Cleveland. And then we have Minnesota at Houston, along with Golden State at Sacramento. We'll be back with an NBA scouting report after this commercial break. Welcome back to Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 125, and let's get into our NBA scouting report. We will go through about 5 games today. One game of note that we won't talk about is Denver versus the Lakers, which is Saturday night. Quick programming note. This Saturday, 8 p.m. to midnight, myself, K-Dub, good old Kevin Walsh, will do in-game live together in studio. First time we've done a live show in studio together, I think since, I'm going to probably say maybe the NBA draft. Kevin and I will be live during the Denver Lakers game along with Illinois, and Duke, which will be from MSG. So that's this Saturday, 8 p.m. to midnight, only on Sports Grid. But let's break down some other games, including one tipping off Thursday night between Orlando and Atlanta. And folks, this is a sneaky good game, folks, because Atlanta's been playing pretty good ball. I know they lost that wild 149-148 game at the Knicks. Remember, folks, these two teams have to play 3 more times in the next 6 to 7 weeks. And with Miami, I think this will go a long way towards deciding who wins the division. When you look at coming out of the break here, Atlanta's got the 23rd hardest schedule left in the NBA. Orlando is 24th. So both teams have relatively easy schedules. This is a big game. Last game they played was a really bit of a slugfest of a game that Atlanta won 112-106. When you look at the over-unders, Atlanta's defense has been a lot better. It's 234.7 is their against the spread number, while Orlando is going to be 213.2. When I look at this game, I am looking at this game to go under. I think this is a game in which Orlando's got to make it a half-court game, and Atlanta's playing better defense than we want to give them credit for. It's a big game. Teams tied in the loss column, although Orlando's got 1 game in hand. Give me the under in Thursday night's matchup between the Magic and the Hawks. Let's move on to another team that I think is playing pretty good ball, and that's the Clippers. Clippers won their last 3 games heading into the All-Star break, including a 128-114 win versus a Bucks team that, let's be honest, they are absolutely up and down. First game went 127-117 with the Clippers winning, and that was in early January. So when you look at this matchup here, Clippers give up about 220 points per game, about 226.8 for the Bucks. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think the spread should be anything crazy, but in my thought process here, I think this game's going to go over. And why I think the game is going to go over is I look at the fact that when these teams are going to play, I think that you could have it be a tight contest here between the two teams. By the way, lines are out. 225.5 right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm going to go over. First game went 234 or 244. I think it's going to be a game in which it may be tight, maybe fouls, late clock, stop possession. Give me over 225.5 in Clippers versus the Bucks. Really quick to go back. Atlanta, Orlando is 222.5. Lines are out for Thursday's games already on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now heading to Friday, these lines are not out yet, and that's the Knicks at the Cavs. The Cavs won the only matchup, I do believe, between these two teams, and it was extremely early on in the season. Of note, as of today, big news out of New York, Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. First game with them went 2-14. Line isn't out because remember, folks, the Knicks are going to be on the second leg of a back-to-back. So I think this game is going to go under. because I think the Knicks may have heavy legs. I think they're playing in Chicago, I'm not mistaken, the day before. So for me, they're playing in New York for Chicago. So I think with the Knicks, they're going to want to slow this game down. I think the Cavs will follow suit. The Knicks game, think about this. Knicks game is about a 243, 244 and a half. It ain't going to be that next night out. That game's going to go under between the Knicks and the Cavs. Next matchup, we kind of talked about both of these teams, and they're squaring off game one, and that's Minnesota at the Rockets. So when you take a look at this game that's going to be played in Houston, both teams' first game out, I think this game is of huge importance for a Houston Rockets team that did not play well coming down the stretch. Last matchup between the two, it's called Rockets, Timberwolves. I'm going to go Rockets minus the points, probably on the money line, could be a short spread. Last matchup, Golden State, Sacramento. This is two teams that are going to look to make a little bit of a run here in the Western Conference as they're in that play-in or right outside that play-in tournament. Kings had looked good before that 140-133 loss, but that was the second leg of a back-to-back. Golden State did better, winning their second leg of a back-to-back before they went on break. Kings won the first game by 30, won the second game by 6. I've told people I'm not a big believer in the Warriors. I know they got Jimmy Butler. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Kings minus the points. After this commercial break, we'll get into our college scouting report. We'll break down a big game in the Big Ten as USC takes on Maryland. We'll then look at Marquette, last stand possibly at Villanova for coach's team. Michigan State versus Michigan, always a great battle. We'll be back with our college scouting report after this commercial break. Welcome back to episode 125 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast. And it's time to get into our college scouting report, but another quick programming note. Starting next Saturday, which I do believe is March the 1st, we're going to have back on the network between 10 and noon on Saturday mornings, Betting Above the Rim college basketball today. Myself, Kevin Walsh, and Joey Lisi, 3-man weave of the best college basketball coverage that you can get every Saturday. And that show will go all the way through the NCAA tournament. And then we'll go and we'll switch it to the NBA. But let's stay in college with a couple of big matchups coming up this week. Number one, USC at Maryland. This is a pretty good matchup for, to me, a Maryland team that is 10-5 in league and sitting at 20 wins. Kevin Willard's done a hell of a job. This team has won 4 out of their last 5 games as Eric Musselman and the Muss Bus makes the trip out east. Now, with this team, this league having like 2,000 teams, this is the first matchup for them in the regular season. To me, I'm looking at Maryland. Maryland is a very good home team. I always get concerned with teams flying across the country to play a game. We saw, obviously, Mick Cronin complain about how many times UCLA had to travel east. Welcome, folks, to the Big Ten. This is what it is. So I'm looking at this Maryland team that's absolutely dynamic, led by, obviously, a superstar player and of course, Mr. Queen, Derek Queen, 6'10 freshman out of Baltimore. They're not going to have anybody that can touch them. Go ahead and give me Maryland minus a point at home. Next matchup. I mean, this team's got 9 lives, but something tells me they blew their last live last night, and that's Villanova. Villanova at 15-12, one of the most inconsistent teams, basically, folks, for the last 2 years of college basketball, is going to take on Marquette at home. Last game of the season at the Wells Fargo Center. These two teams played earlier this year at Marquette, and it was an 87-74 win for the Golden Eagles. To me, this is about the play of Eric Dixon. I think that obviously Marquette's probably going to get the win in the cover. I think the Marquette will be favored. But I would be looking at Eric Dixon's points props, the leading scorer in the country. Eric Dixon should go off, especially after getting 3 damn shots in the last 13 minutes after that team blew a 14-point lead versus UConn. Last matchup, Friday night, Michigan State, Michigan. Both teams, top 15 in the country. What a job by Tom Izzo, what he's done. 12-3 in league. What a job Dusty May's done. 12-2 in league. And really should be an outstanding matchup. To me, if you look at it, I think this game goes under. Here's the crazy thing, folks. They're going to play twice in 2 weeks. They're going to play on Friday night, and they're going to play March night at Michigan State. A lot's on the line, including possibly the regular season championship. Give me Michigan State, Michigan to go under. Buzzer beater time, folks. You know, it's an interesting comment that I just saw a couple hours ago by Fran Fraschilla, the ESPN analyst. And he talked about the transfer portal is about evaluation, then valuation, and finally chemistry. Now, I agree with Coach Fraschilla, and I have great respect for Fran. I think the order is backwards. It's about chemistry, and it's about roster construction. Not all teams with the transfer portal are created equal. Look at the struggles at Arkansas, including getting a guy like John L. Davis, who's a stud at Florida Atlantic. Look at the struggles that Kyle Neptune had at Villanova turning over the roster. But then you look at a team like Kentucky who got it right with Mark Pope. Or the example of Michigan getting a guy named Danny Wolf. Never heard of him? Kid came from Yale. Now he's going to be a possible lottery pick. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast for February 19th. For all things sports gambling, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. Remember, K-Dub, JY, 6 to 10 Saturday night. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny does a great job for the graphics. Thank you for listening, folks. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.